What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at the comedy parody of disaster movies known as Airplane. Let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. Airplane to me is the definition on how to do a parody type of movie. Airplane as a movie is completely silly, it's stupid, it's surreal, it's out there. But this movie works for me because the actors take the material totally seriously and they play everything completely straight. And that is how you do surreal and parody comedy. The actors need to play everything as totally straight so that way you, the viewer, can see the world that they live in. Like it's surreal to us, but it's completely normal to them. And that's where the comedy comes from when you're doing surreal parody humor. And that's where I think Airplane really works as a movie. Now, does that mean Airplane is a flawless movie? No, it's not. I think looking back at it now with this movie came out in 1980. So looking back at it now 40 years later, some of the humor to me doesn't quite hold up, but there's a lot of moments in this movie that are really legitimately funny. Uh, but right off the bat, I think the overall cast in this movie is great. You have Robert Hayes and Julie Haggerty, who play these two characters named Ted and Elaine, and they're really good in this movie. They're this couple that are kind of whose relationship is kind of on the rocks, and throughout the course of this movie, their relationship kind of gets rekindled because Ted is a war veteran, but he keeps having flashbacks to the war because it traumatized him. But after the flight crew and a bunch of passengers suffer from food poisoning, Ted has to kind of land the plane, and he has his former commander, played by Robert Stack, whose name is Kramer, trying to help him land the plane, and it's hysterical. It's really funny, but like I said, they play it totally straight, so you believe it. It's good stuff. Of course, this movie has Leslie Nielsen, who played Dr. Ramuck, and it's Leslie Nielsen. Leslie Nielsen is hilarious, mainly because Leslie Nielsen has got such a dry, just serious delivery to every single line he has in this movie. That's what the joke is. He plays it totally straight, and it's utterly hysterical. Uh, the sight gags and the sight gags in this movie, some of them are really funny, and some of them to me can be a little bit confusing. There are certain characters in this movie that I think are trying way too hard to be funny, and I don't find them funny at all. Not like I said, not all the humor in this movie is going to stick, but some of it is really funny. I think to me, my favorite gag in this whole movie is when I have two favorite gags. My first favorite one is when the character of Ted is telling the story about how he met Elaine at like this bar, and then all of a sudden it turns into a goddamn musical number, and it's utterly hysterical. And I also like the gag how whenever Ted is telling somebody his story, after that story is finished, that specific person ends up killing themselves out of complete boredom. That stuff's hysterical. And you have also other little moments that are funny as well. Like you got this old lady who talks jive, who talking jive, and it's freaking hilarious. You got Peter Graves. You got Peter Graves, who plays the captain of the airplane. There's this little running thing where this little kid named Joey keeps going to the cockpit, and Peter and Graves just says the most random, just uncomfortable things to this man. Like, have you ever been to a Turkish prison? Have you ever seen a grown man naked? It's it's funny, but it's also, oh, what's going on? It's ridiculous. That's what Airplane is. Airplane is a ridiculous, but yet a really funny movie, and I do recommend it. Like Airplane really is really funny, especially when you get to the third act of the movie, and Ted has to land the plane, and that's where the action, so to speak, really starts to ramp up. And that's where and then when you have Kramer and Stryker going back and forth, while all the while you have this other guy played by Lloyd Bridges named McCluskey, who has this running joke of, oh, I picked the worst week to quit smoking. Oh, I picked the worst week to quit drinking. Oh, I picked the worst week to quit sniffing glue. his character, I think, is utterly hysterical. Funny stuff, funny stuff. Uh, so yeah, those are just my overall thoughts on Airplane. I give it a high recommendation. This movie to me is a solid 8 out of 10. I recommend it. Give it a watch. It's still really funny, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.